Coming up for you in this edition of CGW, we'll get a closer look at a line of clubs that mixes 21st century technology with 19th century look and feel. Sweetwood golf sticks are so pretty you may be tempted to put them on display instead of in your bag. But don't. They hit and look as smooth as they are. Then it's time for an away game at arguably Georgia's premier golf destination. No, that other Peach State prize. The collection of courses and world-class hotels and condos at Reynolds Plantation. Plus, the brightest star on the LPGA Tour announced she's leaving the game. Lorena, we hardly knew ye. Michael Williams chews on the latest problems facing the Ladies Pro Tour when we hit the grill room. And we'll get to all that after you hit away on some LPGA trivia. The answer comes your way later in this weekend extravaganza. Welcome back. Say wooden shafted clubs and images of old Tom Morris, Harry Vardon, and maybe Bobby Jones comes to mind, but there is a local firm making beautiful hickory shafted irons and putters that you can play or admire right now. And joining us now to tell us about his clubs is Kareem Kafuri of Sweetwood Golf. Kareem, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure to have you here.
Appreciate it.
This really does look like something that your grandfather may have lovingly handed down to you and said, take care of this kid. But it's a brand new golf club, and it's a classic example, it seems to me, of everything old is new again. We've kind of come back around. Look at the head of this thing, and you would think it's a player's club, a muscle-back club, until you start getting down here and you see this gorgeous hickory shaft along with the windings right here. Where'd the idea come from?
The idea came from several of our partners got together about 5 years ago. All of us were collectors and enjoyed playing the game with the old equipment. However, it was very difficult to play with that equipment. So the concept came, why can't we use the finest of the traditional components with the best of technology and create clubs, putters, apparel, and leather products which all meet the standards of today, but at the same time give back to the craftsmanship of the game and the origins of the product. And
what you said there is very important, because this is a very technologically advanced golf club. Don't think of this as something that was designed in the 19th century. This is very 21st century. So who do you go to, though, to get someone, I'm sure you could find somebody who could design you a graphite shafted perimeter weighted club. Where do you find somebody who can draw this up and say this is really going to play for you?
I would say that was probably about 2 years of research and development, looking at hundreds of clubs, both clubs from today and clubs from the past, 1890 to 1930 time frame. You'll notice that the hosel is about 3 times as long as a normal hosel, so requires all kinds of new molds, research on the hickory shafts to find the best kinds of hickory wood. Wood is a science in and of itself.
Absolutely.
Requires a lot of research, and then obviously the grips themselves are all leather wrapped onto a rubber underlast, so it's a combination of the modern rubber grips but also the leather strapping that was used in the past.
Now, I will talk about the grips in just a second. Down here at the business end of the club, though, I want people to take a look at the scoring on the irons. Now, this is not exactly traditional, but again, I think it's sort of a blend of what clubs used to look like with what they look like now.
Right. The grooves themselves were based loosely on a few patterns from the 1920s. I think Burke was one of the main models that we were looking at when we were developing that. But they are made to play today's game, same idea. We've worked very hard to essentially create clubs that give a modern performance. Our hickory shafted clubs are not replica irons as some other clubs are. They are called performance hickories, and they are made to play today's game and give you much of the same kind of results.
Now, you talked about using the old clubs. You do really have to play differently. The shafts tend to be a lot whippier, and timing is so very important because you have to release your hands at a certain point. You can't do it maybe as early as you can with much more forgiving shafts. What about these?
Right. That was, you're right. Golfers used to have to play into what they called the hickory whip, which essentially would be to account for that kind of delayed whip through the ball. However, what we have done done is our shafts are actually closer to steel as far as overall flexibility, because instead of tapering the shaft through the entire shaft, we made a uniform shaft, which actually made it more dense. And for those that know or don't know about hickory wood, hickory is kind of like spaghetti from the inside. If you were to break it, it fragments. And so that's why it was used in things such as axes and hammers, because it eats the vibration, but at the same time is very strong.
Which is helpful, too, for those of us of a certain age who are starting to get a little arthritic as well, something like that. Well, talk about the grip now, because you mentioned it earlier.
Right.
This is specifically designed to not play with a golf glove. Why is that?
That's right. All of our clubs in general, we push the concept of feel-based play, or a sensory experience. By having the leather there, you actually get a better level of grip. The leather is also treated with Pro-Tack, so as your hands gets tackier, the grip gets tackier. I'm sorry, as your hands gets more moist, the grip gets tackier. And so, long story short on that is that by wearing the glove, you actually take away from the feel of when you hit a good shot versus a bad shot.
One of the things that I think we have forgotten about, too, is how pretty these golf clubs can be. Take a look at, if you looked at this from a distance, you might say, it looks like an old bullseye or maybe a Spalding cash-in putter or something like that. No, in fact, this is one of the wooden putters for which Sweetwood has become so famous.
Exactly. That putter that you have in your hand is bird's eye maple with a Pau Ferro, which is from Bolivia, sight line in the top. Each of our putters actually has a lead weight put on the inside for weighting purposes, and then a thermopolymer insert for a soft touch. That's the blade model. We also have a mallet model as well.
I want to show the mallet here. And this is not just the mallet. This is the absolute Cadillac. This is truly a work of woodcrafter's art. And I want to give you the view for if you were standing down it like that. Take a look at the wood on the head of this mallet putter here. Tell me the story on this thing.
This putter is called the Centurion, and it's a new addition to our line. It is made from 100-year-old growth koa wood, which is extremely scarce and rare. I mean, if you could even find it. And then our craftsmen actually work about 50 to 60 hours using French polishing technique, which requires extensive hand rubbing on the wood in order to get that fine sheen that you see there. It has a ebony face and has a two-tone wood sight line in the top as well, completed with our leather performance grippers to finish the club off.
Now, when you heard Kareem talk about all the things that this club does, you might expect that there's a price tag attached to it, and yes, indeed, there is. This goes for
about $2,700 for that putter.
But I guarantee you, you're going to be the only one in the foursome with this. But look at these clubs online at sweetwoodgolf.com, because it's not just the clubs we've showed you here. Kareem has come up with an entire sort of, it's like a lifestyle thing, I think, as well, all the way down to the fedora that you might want to use when you play as well. This is great stuff.
Thank you so much.
I am very impressed with this, and I think you will be too. Check it out online. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for having us
Good
today.
To see you
Truly
here.
appreciate it.
Up next, yellow or white. What in the world was Jim Furyk playing in the Masters Par 3 tourney? Turns out it was a yellow ball, and they're making a comeback. Tell you why they make sense. First, though, the short game guru, Dave Pelz, offers this reason to consider turning things upside down and putting left hand low.